Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you are a frequent viewer or if you're someone new to my channel, you are welcome. Welcome back or welcome for the first time. So today I'm going to be talking about Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. This is unprofessional. I probably should have found out how to pronounce her first name before doing this review. Anyhow, this is a library copy, so it's a little bit shiny. Sorry about that. I know that most booktubers actually buy their own copies or get ARCs. I actually had to go and get this from the library. The reason is because this book sort of started being on my radar a while ago, kind of, and I was kind of on the fence if I want to read it or if I don't want to read it. But because I read Anna Dressed in Blood and I really liked it and it was kind of creepy, I decided that I'm gonna read these ones as well, especially since the protagonists are three sisters. They are triplets and they all have special powers, and they basically have to kill each other. There's only one survivor and she's the one who's gonna become the queen of the island. So yeah, it's what there's a lot of things that I want to say. I don't want to give away too much, but there is a map of Fennbirn, which is where the entire thing kind of takes place. I can get a little bit ADD when I'm reading, and to be honest, I assumed that they all live on different islands, because they all have the power to control kind of different spheres. Like Arsinoe is a naturalist supposedly, so she should be able to control animals and make flowers bloom and etc. Catherine is a poisoner, so she can concoct poisons and she can basically eat poisons and drink poisons and she will be fine. And lastly there's Mirabella, and Mirabella is the strongest of the sisters. She's an elemental, she can control the elements. She can, create storms. She can control fires. So that's the gist of it. So every generation, three queens are born. Three girls. They're triplets. They all have black hair. And they all basically, at the age of 16, they kind of ascend and they fight each other, and there's only one survivor and she becomes the queen of the island. But of course, this year things are a little bit different. I mean, this ascending is a little bit different, or quickening, whatever it is that they call it, because Mirabella, who is the strongest one and everyone sort of thinks she's gonna be queen, she doesn't really want to kill her sister. She's kind of like, I don't know, I remember when we were like little and we got along really well, why does it have to change now? And then there's Arsinoe, who's really, really weak. She can't do anything as a naturalist. She can't control animals. She can't even make a flower bloom. So she's kind of depressed, but she's also like very strong, like mentally and physically, and she doesn't really want to give up. She doesn't want to die. And lastly, there's Catherine. So Catherine is the weakest of the sisters. She cannot really control poisons. Like, her body rejects poisons. Like, she can die from poisoning. No matter how much they try to sort of cultivate a resistance in her, she can't really seem to, control poisons and be immune to them, which in a way makes the Aaron house, the house that she belongs to, kind of afraid. Not because they care so much about her, but more because they've been in power for a very long time now, and they don't want to lose that power. They don't want to sort of, give up the castle, as they say. They want to continue to be in charge, and this is what this book is all about. It's not really just about these three different girls battling for power. It's more about the people who stand behind them and the people who do want to grasp, do want to have hold of that power, do want to sort of sit in the house of government, let's put it bluntly. The poisoners don't want to give up their power. The temple, they definitely do want to become the most powerful ones, they do when they regain their sort of control over everything, because they used to be in control but not any longer, and they're kind of like pissed about it. The naturalists don't really seem to care all that much what's gonna happen. They are just, I wouldn't say that they're indifferent, but they, they haven't really been in power for a while, and they're more like down to earth, very like, in touch with Mother Nature kind of thing going on. So they definitely don't really have politics on their mind. So the battle is definitely more between the poisoners and and the temple. And these three girls just are kind of thrown into this, mishmash, this vortex and this battle of powers. And it seems like the only person, which is a little bit ironic, but the only one of the three sisters who actually wants to have power is Catherine, and she's the weakest one. And she seems to be the only one who's like power hungry, because Mirabella doesn't really care, and Arsinoe doesn't really care. She just doesn't want to die. Mirabella kind of like doesn't really know what she wants, so she just does whatever she's told to do. But Catherine feels as if she deserves to be in charge, she deserves to have that power, especially since she was abused, since she was brought into the House of the Poisoners. So she probably feels like, damn, if I went through all of that abuse, I might as well get rewarded at the end of it. So that's basically the gist of it. We see how the sisters kind of prepare for the quickening. We kind of see their thoughts, and it's told in present time, which is something that I'm not very used to when I'm reading novels. Usually it's like past tense, but this is present tense, and it's told from all the three perspectives. And of course, because it's a YA novel, obviously there's gonna be a love triangle or a love square. It's never just gonna be two people who want to be together and that's the end of that. There's always gonna be another person brought into the equation. So usually, most YA novels I personally read, it's usually the two guys fighting over the girl. In this case, one of the queens, and I don't want to give up any information for those of you who haven't read it, one of the queens kind of falls in love with a boy who already is in love with another girl. But when they meet up by complete chance, they fall in love. They spend several passionate nights together, or like a day and a half together, and they realize that they're in love with each other, but they cannot be together because she's supposed to be queen and she's supposed to only marry and mate mainlanders. He belongs to a different group of people. He cannot really be with her, and he's kind of torn between this girl that he used to love since he was a child and this new girl that he just met, but she's nothing what he expected her to be. And to be honest, I don't really root for them. I don't like him. I only like the element of drama that their love triangle kind of brings to the plot, and it kind of keeps the plot moving. I feel that if it was not for that, the plot probably wouldn't have moved at such a pace. But it's definitely a catalyst to a huge event that happens later on, and I kind of do enjoy it. Do I want them to be together? Not necessarily. I think she can do better. This guy sort of irritates me. He doesn't seem to have the courage to just, admit what he feels till the very end. And even then, I don't know, I just enjoy the drama element of it, but I don't necessarily support their relationship for the sake of, two people who love each other being together, because I feel like it's a good match. I just feel as if it makes the plot, move forward. And all of these queens, they kind of have, a male interest in their lives. And, that it's integral to the plot. It kind of keeps the plot moving. These boys serve a strong purpose. How much I'm gonna give this book in terms of stars? I'm thinking 3.5. enough. The reason is that it is an enjoyable book, but I feel as if the world building could have been a little bit stronger and a little bit better. It took me a while to really sort of get into it, to sort of like feel the pace, kind of get into the plot and understand exactly who's who and what's going on. The writing is not very detailed. It's a little bit hard to like get a very good sense of what each queen is. I feel as if their personalities are not fully developed in that sense. I feel as if we sort of see them in a way that is kind of somewhat like a cutout that we are supposed to kind of fit them into a certain image. Like Arsinoe, who's a naturalist, is supposed to be wild and kind of like untamed and very independent, and that's kind of how we get to see her, but we only get to see her because people often mention that she's wild and strong-willed and independent. And Catherine is always described as like this weak little girl who can't really fend for herself, and she's basically abused by everyone. But we don't really get too much insight into their own heads or into their own thoughts. At least that's how it felt to me. So in that aspect, I wish that the book would have been a little bit better, because I do want to see into their heads, like into their minds, better say. I do want to see what they're thinking about and kind of like how they see the situation more clearly, because I feel as if the ambition of this book was very big. It was about, political intrigue and fantasy and, myth and like supernatural and like sort of horror elements. And it was a very ambitious project, but it feels as if the glue that combined it all together is a little bit weak, because it seems like it's trying very, very hard to be like this kind of Game of Thrones kind of thing. I feel like a lot of books nowadays are trying to be Game of Thrones. And I mean, that's a good thing to aspire to, but also you have to fit all that into like barely 400 pages. And that's a feat. That's not easy at all, especially when you have to be mindful that this is a YA novel, so some things you can't really, mention in YA novels because, teenagers won't be able to read them anymore, so to speak. So I did enjoy the book. It did take me time to get into the whole atmosphere, and even then I feel as if some places, like I got a good sense more or less of Catherine's environment, of Mirabella's environment, but I feel as if Arsinoe's was kind of lacking in many, many ways. Like, it's as if I felt like it was a puzzle in a way that didn't come together quite well, that there are still pieces missing. That's how it felt to me when I was reading this book. That's why I give it 3 stars. I wish I could give it 3.5. So on YouTube, I'm giving it 3.5. On Goodreads, I'll have to give it like 3, because I feel as if 4 I reserve for books that that are incredibly well written and that I enjoy straight away, that just blow my mind, that I cannot wait to continue reading once I stop. I just keep thinking about the book and how good it is. This was not it. I did enjoy it. I did think it was good and interesting, and it was different, but I wish it was a little bit more developed. So these are my thoughts on 3 Dark Crowns. I do plan on reading One Dark Throne, which is the second part to this book. This is a duology, which I'm kind of thankful for, because I feel as if they often need to stop at 3 books, but a lot of series tend to tend to go on forever, and you're like, okay, you need to stop. So I'm kind of happy that this is a duology. So I did enjoy it. I do recommend it, especially if you liked her previous stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in and for listening to me rant and rave about this book. And yeah, have a wonderful night, guys, and a wonderful day. Bye!